Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
I have a friend, his name's Dave Smith. Yeah, that's actually his name. He had a saying, or has a saying, and whenever we were dealing with something and it was a little chaotic, he would say, business would be easy if it weren't for the people. And of course, he was meant that in jest, because you know what? Business is people. Business is, if you stop and pick away at any business, it's all dealing with solving problems for people. Amazon, they solve problems for people. Accounting people, they do tax returns for people. So people are in business to serve other people, and people are in business with other people. And it can be very chaotic from day to day. We can all think of somebody in our lives who is just, we'll call them that handful, right? They're always a handful to deal with. That employee or that vendor or maybe that client, whatever it is. And then we have those same people who are generally wonderful to work with, but then one day all of a sudden everything gets turned up on its head and we have no idea what's going on in their lives. And the point I'm getting at is that conflict is all around us. There's nothing you can really do to eliminate it. You just have to deal with it. So today I have on the program Karen Hurt, and she is the CEO and founder of Let's Grow Leaders, which is a global leadership company known for practical tools and leadership development that sticks. And she's the author of 5 books, including Courageous Cultures and Powerful Phrases for Dealing with Workplace Conflict, which we're really going to delve into today. That's my plan. Karen, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, you heard the intro there, conflict. What we talked before we hit record, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Yeah. Let's, talk about job security, right? That's you and undertakers, right? I mean, it's just, there'll always be job security.
Sadly true.
AI is not going to take it away because it's so complicated. And, I guess let's just start off. How did you jump into this? How did you get into?
Yeah, so we were noticing a pattern. We're working with our clients, and we work all over the world. So, it's humans, it's people, right?
Yeah.
And we're thinking conflict seems to be getting worse since the pandemic. Is that true, right? And so we don't do anything that's not research-based. We didn't just want to go with a hunch and say, we better write a book on this. So we did it. We stopped and we did some research. It was the World Workplace Conflict and Collaboration Survey. It's 5,000 people in 45 countries to ask this, are you experiencing more conflict or less since the pandemic? And 70% said they're experiencing the same, more, or significantly more. And what was really interesting in the verbatims and all the qualitative stuff as we dive really deep through all that is the conflicts are getting more complex. And we call these conflict cocktails. Right? So it's not just one thing. So you've got lingering post-pandemic mental health challenges. You've got people working from home, whether they're happy about that or not happy about that. Yeah. They're feeling isolated. They're working in remote and hybrid teams, sometimes matrix organizations where they're not even on the same time zone as their coworkers, and managers who don't know how to deal with all that. And so all of that is creating making conflict a little bit more difficult to manage these days.
No, and I mean, you mentioned the pandemic, and that was, I think pretty much everybody was working from home unless you were delivering milk or something like that. I mean, and I think it was, for me, I'm self-employed, so I never really, I did worry what's going to happen with my clients, my members. Would I lose my business? But I think when you're working for somebody and dependent upon that one paycheck, that added a level of stress. Not to mention, George Floyd and all that stuff, and then politics thrown on top. It's crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah, it's
And
crazy.
sadly, I'm not sure that it's any better today,
No,
honestly.
well, it's not. And I mean, well, it it isn't and it is. I find that I deal with a lot of people from all sorts of different ideologies, and I just find we're all people.
Yeah.
We're all people. And if we can get it down to a human element, and you can look across the screen or the table at the person and just realize, they're going home and somebody's depending upon them, and you know, that's just for me. It just makes it easier to be a little more forgiving, if you will.
Yeah.
Of yeah, okay, you know what, something's going on here. I'll give it a day, or you know what, they're that way because I don't know why they're that way. And I'm not going to make it worse.
Yeah, in our leadership programs, one of the things that we teach is so before you enter the room, either whether it's a physical room like a conference room or a, Zoom room, imagine who's going to be in that room and imagine all the things that are likely going on because 40% are dealing with some kind of health issue, either for themselves or their,
Yeah,
somebody that they love. People have got financial issues. And I just like to, even if I don't even know the people, I know the statistics.
yeah,
And that makes you, to your point, show up more curious, more generous, forgiving in those contexts.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it's very true. It's very true once you start talking to people. Well, if you don't mind, what I would like to do, one of the things in the uh, intake survey, you had said one of the things we could talk about was 12 GOAT powerful phrases for dealing with workplace conflicts, workplace conflict. For those who don't know, I assume GOAT means greatest of all time.
It does. And
Okay.
I love a good go. I love a good metaphor. So when I go to do keynotes, I bring these big stand-up goats with me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think um, it's a phrase or a term that is relatively new, but pretty much people know what it is.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I say that for the one or two people out there who don't, and they do exist, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So,
Every now and then I get, what's with the goats?
yeah.
Yeah.
So greatest of all time, we get that. Powerful phrases. What are these phrases intended to do?
Yeah. So, in our book, we have over 300 powerful phrases for dealing with workplace conflicts. So, the idea is that you can go to the table of contents and say, what's happening? Somebody just stole credit for my idea, or I've got a customer who's off the deep end, or what do you do? And then you go to the chapter and do the thing. But we have 12 that are the goats, and which
Okay.
are the powerful phrases that you can use in pretty much any conflict that you have. And if you could just take a look at these 12 and pick two or three that you want to get in your repertoire, I promise you will have less stress in your day. So these goats are around our four dimensions of productive conflict.
Okay.
And so if you want to, I just give you a couple for each one of the dimensions.
That would be great. Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you. This is my commitment. I am sold. I'm going to buy your book as soon as we're done, just because I want those 12 phrases. Because I know these people are in my life and they will always be in my life. Might not be the same people, but that ilk of, and I need to be forearmed.
Yeah,
So,
sorry, let's give you one for connection. So
okay.
the dimension of connection is really happens at two levels. It's are we connected as human beings before we even need to have a conversation, right? And then are we connected in our conversation? So let's assume you have the relationship and then someone comes to you and they are fired up. They are spitting teeth mad. If the first thing you say is this goat, you will immediately de-escalate the tension. Tell me more. The reason people get louder, either metaphorically louder or really louder, is because they want to be heard. So if the
Mm,
first thing you do is say, hey, it sounds like you're upset. Hey, can you tell me more about what's going on? They don't have to keep screaming because they know you are listening. And so that is a really good one for connection.
I love it.
My
Yeah.
favorite, oh, go ahead.
No, I love it. It's just, yeah.
All right. Now, this, of all the 300 powerful phrases in the book, this is my very favorite one. All right. You ready? It's a clarity goat. And it is, what would a successful outcome do for you? Now, we all say, what does success look like all the time, right? Like that's 101 communication. But this one goes a level deeper. All right, so imagine you and I are working on a project together. Our boss gives us something on Monday morning and says, "Okay, this is due at on Friday." Now, we both know what success looks like, not an issue. But if we take 5 minutes and ask this question of one another, we are going to reduce the likelihood of destructive conflict. So you say, "Hey, I got to tell you, I've been working like 70 hours a week for the last couple of weeks. And what successful outcome will do for me is that we are done by 5 o'clock on Friday. Like we're going to work effectively and efficiently. And we're going to walk out of here. I'm going to be able to go to my kids' stuff this weekend and not worry about it." And I might say, you know what, Frank, what a successful outcome would do for me is that my boss does not really see my genius in this stuff. I am really an expert and I'm feeling overlooked. So, what a successful outcome looks like for me is when we do the presentation to the executives, when the really zinger questions come, can I answer a couple of those so I look like I'm smart and know what I'm doing? Now, if we don't have that conversation in advance, you might be just jumping in and answering the questions because you know the answer to.
Yeah.
And I might be like, you know what? I really want to get this read. I don't mind working on Saturday morning, right? And we've created conflict unnecessarily.
Now, the one what the most recent one, what would a successful outcome look like
Do
for
for you.
you? Do for you? What if you what if somebody comes back with something unreasonable?
Yeah, that's a really good question, right?
Because
And
it's almost like you're inviting them here. What can I do for you? But and all you're really saying is I want to know. I'm not guaranteeing it. But
100%, right? But I think a lot of the time, so I mean, you don't have just because you ask these questions doesn't need mean you need to agree to anything that is not right, right? What a successful outcome would do for me, Frank, is that when we work on this project together, I get all the compensation. Well,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
right? That's not going to work. But but a lot of times what people want, they're not articulating because if I haven't had an open door to tell you that I think my boss is underestimating me, I'm not going to just like bring that up,
mm,
right?
yeah,
So, and most conflict comes from an expectation violation of some sort. Like, I expect it to go this way, you expect it to go that way, and now we have a disagreement. I expected you were going to empty the dishwasher before you left for work. And here it is. There's a dish full of sinks, right? A
yeah,
sink full of dishes. We have conflict. But, but if did we ever speak about it? Did you agree to doing that? No, I just thought you should, right?
right.
So,
No, I get it. And it's almost like tell me what would make you happy or what you want to come away with. And then you can start to pick away, and I'm asking, but you can start to pick away at what do they really want. Hey,
yeah,
I want to be able to, I want to be able to look smart in front of the boss.
right.
Okay. So give me that space. Okay. And then you can start to I mean, there's more to it than that, right? It's just like, I'm looking to get promoted. And so maybe it's, maybe it's you can't come through for them exactly what they want with exactly how they want, but you can figure out, okay, I can't do that, but maybe I can do this and this, and that'll help you as well.
Yeah.
Is that a fair
Yeah, I think
approach?
that it's getting to some level of alignment, getting to a shared agreement. And so, that brings me to another goat, which is a commitment goat. And so, if you've ever had one of those Groundhog Day conflicts where you think you've agreed to it, and then
Yeah,
2 weeks later you're talking about the same darn thing
yeah,
again, right? So the commitment goats are, so what we've agreed to is this. Do I have that right? Because when we are stressed, right, we hear what we want to hear half the time. We're seeing it through
yeah,
our lens, and then you're giving the other person an opportunity to say, "Well, that's not quite what I think we're agreeing to." Better to know that today than to get 2 weeks down the line and realize that you walked away from that initial conversation with some different perspectives.
yeah. I don't want to say my issue with that. My concern with that. That's a better
Okay.
is how we define the terms.
Uh-huh.
So if you're going to, spouse, loved one, kids, and saying, You need to empty the dishwasher. That's black and white, right? It's either
Right.
empty or it's not.
Right.
Right?
Right.
You know, half empty is not empty. You know, it's not.
Right.
It's not a little bit pregnant. It's whatever.
Right.
Um, where I run into issues with that are people where it's just stuff that it's, yeah, again, you have to define your terms.
Mhm.
I said I was going to do this and I did. It's like, well, I, that wasn't my understanding of
Yeah.
whatever it is that obviously not emptying the dishwasher, but,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
We, in our leadership programs, we teach that as what we call a check for understanding.
okay.
And one of the things, and believe it or not, check for understanding is like all communications is a send and a receive, right? And you would think that's so practical and so simple. Well, you should check for understanding to make sure they got it. People don't do it though.
Mm,
And we'll get to the end of a 6 month program, and a CEO will say, it's changed my life. Check for understanding. Like, really? You got this far and you
yeah.
didn't, but we assume, right?
Yeah.
So instead of saying, so you end a meeting and say, okay, we're going to do these three things. Anybody have any questions? Nobody has any questions because they think they know what they heard,
Yeah.
right? But instead you say, okay, before we leave, what are the three things we're going to do? I just want to make sure my communication is clear. We're all on the same page. What are the three things we're going to do when we leave this meeting? And you hear it back. Okay, well, that you may get something different. Or I hand you a project and you're looking at this project and you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to take me 20 hours. And so you do a check for understanding and you say, hey, Karen, just want to check for understanding on this. I see this project taking about 20 hours, which means I could get it done by X date. And I'm like, 20 hours? No, 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 no. I don't need pivot tables. I
Right.
just need
Okay.
to know whether this is trending up or down. And like David is my husband and co-author. We have this conversation all the time because I'll ask for something and I'm more like the vision person and he's more the ops guy. So I'm asking for stuff all the time. And he'll say that. I'm like, no, no, just is this like, give me your back of the napkin. Should I pursue this opportunity? And so I think that can also save you a lot of time if you check for understanding,
Yeah.
and not to mention frustration.
I discovered how poorly I communicate. And I'm not saying a poor communicator, but how overconfident I was in my communication skills. That's a better way to put it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, when I coached a 7-year-old soccer team, and trying to, it's just to think, what I just said is totally clear. You go over here. Well, everybody there is you. And so everybody heads over in that direction. No, I was pointing at you, little redhead boy, you
Yeah,
over there. And then I started to realize in that experience, it's like, wow, I wonder if I am, if it's this bad in other situations. And
it is.
yeah,
It is. And I think a lot of it is also what we call magical thinking. So I don't tell you how to do something or what I need because, Frank, you should know, right? You should
yeah,
know because you're not a kid. Your mama should have taught you better. You have a master's degree. You've been at this for 15 years. You've got 700 podcasts yet. Whatever the thing is, right? Like you
yeah,
should know, but you might not know, right?
yeah,
And so managers do that all the time. We do it with coworkers. We don't want to insult somebody, but it's better to check to see,
yeah.
what the expectations are.
Do you run into people, managers, bosses who have the "it's my way or the highway" sort of mentality? Well, I don't need to check for understanding because my understanding is the understand, or something along those lines, where they're just not flexible, maybe.
So it could be that they're not flexible, and that's where the curiosity goats come in, right? And if you think you're one of these people that is not flexible, try some curiosity goats. What does this look like from your perspective? Right? That's a
Right.
powerful one.
Yeah.
And you can use it in any situation at work, at home, right? What does this look like from your perspective? And every time I ask that question, I'm, most of the time I'm a little surprised at what it looks like from their perspective. But that's so important to know.
Yeah. And I can think of a few people in my life where I would ask that question, and I'm not downplaying it, but you run into people where they're like, well, you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah.
I had,
Yeah.
and to me, that's To me, that's somebody who's not willing to play the game, or play along, right? Not really willing to engage and really compromise or have a meeting of the minds.
Yeah. And sometimes I think we do, to your point, we think we know. So I'll tell you how I screwed this up the other day. So I've got a 19-year-old kid,
Okay.
and at New Year's he went to a visioning workshop with us. Okay, which
Okay.
was pretty cool that he did this. So it's like you put a like vision board,
Yeah.
make your year. And it was in a yoga studio, which is not his jam.
Yeah.
But we were sitting there, and we're in this new small town, and this person, he is a performer. He's going to a performing arts school, and he loves open mics. And this lady says, "Oh yeah, my boyfriend runs an open mic at da 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 da." And he doesn't say anything. So we get in the car, and I'm like, Sebastian, like this would have been your opportunity. You could have you're all about networking. You could have made the networking connection and gone to the open mic and had a warm lead versus knocking on the door. And he said, Mama, aren't you going to ask me what this looks like from my perspective?
Mm.
Right? He's read the book, right? He turned it right
Yeah.
back on. And he says, this is because we've just moved to this small town. He said, I'm going to have one chance at this. And I'm in college right now. I'm getting better. And I'm going to live here. It's premature for me to go do that open mic. Let me come back. And, but I was sure I was right. And I was sure he had missed his networking opportunity.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's a whole other lesson there, and kids listen, kids learn. So, well, no, I think that's very mature of him to, and I push my kids too. My kids are a little older, but it's, I see this, and it's, I'm not checking for their understanding, their
Yeah.
perspective on things.
Yeah.
So, let's shift gears a little bit. I want to talk with you about the work you're doing and how the audience might be able to help you. The book, again, is Powerful Phrases for Dealing with Workplace Conflict. I'm sure it's out there on Amazon and wherever books are sold. But yeah, just, types of companies you're looking to connect with, so on and so forth.
Yeah. So our organization is called Let's Grow Leaders, and we're known for really practical tools and techniques for human-centered leaders. And we work with everyone from really fast-growing startups. That's the sweet spot for us. People who haven't done a lot of leadership training and they want something really practical right away.
Mm-hmm.
But we also work with some of the big guys too. Nestle is one of our big clients, Amazon, those kinds of folks as well. But would love to connect on Karen with an I on LinkedIn. Karen Hurt would love to connect there as well.
I guess quick question: how do people come to you? Is it generally a leader that's self-identifying and saying, "Hey, I need to have you come in," or is it somebody lower level saying, "Hey, we need this," or is it just run the gamut?
It is usually a frustrated C-level leader who
Okay.
says, I need to give my people some practical skills to meet my expectations.
Okay.
And I want to do it in a human-centered way. And, so right on our website, we're like, if you're here to check the box just because you want your employee engagement survey people to say that they have leadership training, we are not your people.
Yeah.
If you're looking for sustained change and you really want to do this in a human-centered way, then let's talk.
Okay. Best way to get a hold of you through the website, letsgrowleaders.com.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate your time today.
Frank, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AMSPIRIT.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.